So the U.S. Navy just comes out with a new weaponry system. The thing is, the operations is done by a defense contractor. This kind of capability, what does it actually say? And is it a real threat, not only to Americans, but to the world in general? We literally talked about this, and everybody told us that we had tinfoil hats on and all that. But the truth is, it's in existence. We're going to discuss that. Also, we're going to discuss what a spy plane is doing flying around the peninsula of Mexico. You know, Trump and Pete Hegseth made some pretty big comments about the cartels. Are we now seeing traction on that to say we're going to handle the cartels the way we want to as Americans? Huge. Also, Trudeau does bend the knee. He sends 10,000 troops along with billions to protect the border of Canada. Will Mexico do the same thing? What it did, it made the markets go crazy high. First it tanked a little bit, thinking, oh well, gosh, what are they going to do with all these tariffs? And all of a sudden, Canada backs down. We're going to see Mexico back down. And it's probably going to make the market go up again. And then there's something else. Elon Musk just released a report. You know, he's working for Doge, so we're getting these great amounts of information daily. And you won't believe what he just said. Again, a man who is working for free, the richest man in the world. People hate him now because he's actually doing really the will of the American people. You won't believe what he just found, and we'll discuss that. And then lastly, something that's personal to me. I see the youngest generations falling, and there's a new study that shows the amount of substances they're using to I guess blind themselves of what's going on in the world, to take away from stress. But ultimately what we're doing is we're seeing a demise of a generation. This is exactly what the globalists wanted. They wanted to see the generations be lazy, drugged, and just basically let's keep them entertained. We're going to discuss that today. Let's dive into these stories. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. We humbly ask that you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. Our goal is to gain wisdom and common sense together, and that way we know how to navigate this crazy world that we're living in. You hear the birds, it's a beautiful day here on the farm. We're so thankful for all the things God has given us. Now let's jump into these stories. Now first let's talk about the U.S. Navy's new toy. This is something that, again, we've been talking about. It just seems like everybody wants to wipe it away, but the truth be told is it's just what we thought. Clearest image of a U.S. Navy's direct energy firing laser just came out. Now, this is called the Helios. It's owned by Lockheed Martin, and this is a high energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance weapon. That's what Helios stands for. This weapon is designed to counter unmanned aerial threats and also utilize cost-effective ways instead of using so many dollars per shot, meaning it costs a lot to make this big munition. So now let's get away from that. An extraordinary savings for the Navy, which will inhabit tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars for missile interception. The defense blog wrote that the Helios is going to be a game changer. The U.S. Center for Countermeasures supported the Navy's demonstration of the USS Preble to verify and validate the functionality of the Helios. It says the Helios can take out and do anything it needs when it comes to unmanned aerial drones or directional energy into a specific region or area. But did you notice the last word of Helios? Let's go back and read it again. Maybe you can catch it. The Helios stands for High Energy Laser with Integrated Optimal Dazzler and, what's the word? Surveillance. It seems like everything now has to be where we lose control of our own abilities for freedom. Have you ever recognized that? This is something owned by a defense contractor, and they want to show it off, and so we look at it as like, oh, we're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. All the while, part of its job is to surveil. I mean, is that something that should worry us? And also we hear that this was not invented. We hear that there's no such thing as a high energy weaponry, and all of a sudden U.S. Navy comes out with it showing exactly what it does. It's kind of unbelievable. Now, can it keep it safe? Well, hopefully, my gosh, no telling what this thing cost us from this defense contractor. Can it save us money over time? Hopefully. But at what extent are we willing to give up our freedom? They talked about the Cybertruck the other day and how the plaids, or the Cybertrucks that allow for self-driving, and a lot of this is not just Tesla, this is a lot of these self-driving automations that they're starting to make now. Part of the automation is for, there's a camera that's filming you the whole time to make sure that you still have eyes on the road even though you're not driving. And if you take your eyes off the road, then it pretty much shuts down and makes it where you have to drive again. So at what point do we want to quit giving up our freedoms to say for convenience? Because that's exactly what this is. Again, we want to conveniently not drive on the road, which is kind of funny to me because I don't understand that concept, that we have been blessed to not have to walk miles and miles and miles, so then we don't have to have horses, and now we have cars, and now we're too lazy to even drive the automobile. And so therefore we're willing to give up our safety in the name of surveillance and our freedom. I heard a guy the other day who is considered a populist Republican. He said, they asked him what he thought about this, self-driving feature of the Cybertruck. He owned a Cybertruck. He said, well, everyone's doing it. All the big automakers are going to do it too. And they said, yeah, but why are you okay with this? Because the guy that was interviewing him drove a truck like me. He's like 25 years old. The whole purpose was to stay away from technology. And he said, well, I think sometimes we just got to give up, certain aspects of our life, and we're okay with that, especially if we get good things in return. Woo, that's a tough statement. And I think this high energy weapon could come back to haunt us. Not because of the high energy weapon, because there's surveillance that's based into this technology that we're giving a defense contractor, not only rights probably to use overseas, but what about here in America? Kind of a scary thought. So pay attention to this story. I think you're going to see more of this. I think it's kind of like the drone situation. Drones came out in the 90s or 80s or whatever it was. They were huge. Nobody had them with the military. And then all of a sudden everybody has them. Now they're causing problems, surveillance, and now we're thinking AI generated things, and all of a sudden now we're seeing the same thing with another form of surveillance. And I just don't think this is for the best. Now, yesterday you heard that the markets were doing terrible because the tariff war, and then all of a sudden it got great because all of a sudden, Canada bowed down just like all the other little Latino countries in Latin America. Mexico would do the same. But one thing I love about this is Trump is always playing 4D chess. I'm not giving him extra credit. I'm just saying this guy's a businessman. That's what I like about him. Because not only did he fix the situation in Canada for a 30-day stay, basically to negotiate the terms of the leverage of the Americans, because they realized it was tanking the Canadian dollar. It's doing the same thing to the peso. At the same time as doing this to the peso, at the same time that Mexico has a meeting with Trump, Trump puts a spy plane to go around to these cartel areas in the Tijuana area, and then also in the peninsula in the western part of Mexico. I'll read this story because again, this is a straight up ballin' move that he just pulled. Not only is he in leverage situations here, he's saying, look, if you're ruled by the cartels, I'm fixing to shut them down on top of that. I mean, it was a straight up manly thing to do. Again, I feel like we actually have adults leading us again. Listen to this. It says, the U.S., this is huge, the SIGINT, which is the Signals Intelligence Reconnaissance Aircraft that can be monitor, record, relay, geolocate, intercept communications in real time, is now flying in the areas where the cartels are the most active. Think about that. It says for the first time ever, this U.S. Air Force capability is now being used, and they are flying out of certain areas and certain Air Force bases, flying into the Mexican airspace to do one thing: to get a handle on the drug problem. Now, Trump said he wanted to do that. And at the very end of the video, I have one thing I want to mention to you about the situations with what this says. Now, Trump has said that he has not done alcohol or drugs ever. And he said because he saw what it did to a lot of his family members. He talked about his brother. He talked about other people he knew. He said, I never wanted to be in that place. Now think about this. He promised border solutions. You are starting to get that more than ever. He stopped funding to a lot of these places. Guess what? Him and Putin, secret leak, but they're supposed to have a meeting in the Middle East or in some area close to the Middle East very, very soon. In Qatar or Saudi Arabia or some area over there to negotiate terms without the little babysitter, without the little problem child, with Zelensky being there. this is how you play 4D chess. He calls Mexico and says, look, we're going to put tariffs on you. Your peso's falling. And by the way, the people that keep you in power, the people that tend to run the border, we're going to pretty much dismantle them. Or if we're not dismantle them, we're going to make sure that they feel like we're going to do what we did to that Somalia cave just a few days ago. So therefore, we're going to find out exactly where they're at, get the communications, know what the targets are, just in case we decide to. That is huge. That is a OG move right there. I'm serious. I think of all politicians, again, most of them bend the knee, most of them are weak simps and just weak men. And to see, again, a power play like this from Hedgeseth and from Trump, I absolutely think this is a monster move. This is an act of terror because all this stuff is flooding our borders, not just people, the trafficking issues and drug issues that is debilitating our generations. And we'll be talking about that right after this Elon Musk warning. Listen to this. Elon Musk come out and states this, and I think this is probably the biggest news of the day, and nobody's talking about it because, again, they hate Elon Musk because of what he's doing and trying to help America. Elon Musk just shared that the Biden administration shifted billions of dollars for helping Americans in need to facilitate illegal immigration. Now, we've heard that, oh, well, they're giving all our money to illegal immigration. Now, listen. What he did was take millions of dollars and billions of dollars that would have went to places like the hurricane situation, would have went to places that were deemed for American sovereignty and American freedom and also to help Americans. So all the money that you support the Democrats, especially the ones who say they're going to help you and give you all this stuff from the government, all of a sudden they took your livelihood away. Listen to the amounts here. I spoke to a gentleman, and this is Elon Musk talking. I spoke to a gentleman in the DHS, and he said these were done with electronic fund transfers. This is how bad it got. The NGOs that did not help Americans, that said their goal was to help illegals only, got the money over the NGOs that were helping Americans. Again, it blows my mind that we're using tax dollars to do anything that's not just completely for our good. But no, here, listen to this. It says, this is how bad it got. The NGO got $600 million. And you're like, well, I mean, we're talking billions here. $600 million every 2 months just to facilitate and help illegal immigration. So they didn't say how many NGOs, but they said this NGO in specifically got $600 million every other month to help navigate, move, teach, and control the situation when it comes to illegal immigration, helping them navigate their American citizenship, helping them navigate how to get in and out of America with no problem. Elon Musk says this is the kind of stuff we got to shut down. He said, let me repeat, $600 million to U.S. taxpayer dollars were taken to give to NGOs every 2 to 3 months to help do everything they could for illegal migrants to stay into this country. Homeland Security Council meeting heard this in a testimony, and yet nothing has been done. So again, now Elon Musk is bringing it to the forefront. This is what I love about Doge, and this is what I love about X, is because it doesn't matter that your congressmen are weak and inept and not doing anything. You can then go to the populace, the 77 million people, along with probably another 15 to 20 million who are seeing good things that Trump is doing already. So what we're seeing is 80 to 90 million people of America are starting to realize, holy moly, this is where our tax dollars are going. Even some Democrats are starting to wake up and say, oh my gosh, so I'm paying all this money and I thought I was getting money in return, but actually I'm not. They're getting all the money. Game changer, what Elon just said. This is the stuff that's got to be weeded out. You say 600 million here, 600 million here, 600 million every 2 months. That's $3.6 billion to whatever this NGO is, roughly. That is astronomical. That'd be unbelievable. Unbelievable. Last story I want to bring up, and this is one that I think that is pretty important to me. And this goes back to the Trump story with the U.S. plane, spy plane, trying to root out the cartels. It says, visualizing the drug use trends of young Americans. This is what breaks my heart. Today, the 3 most common substances are alcohol, cannabis, and nicotine. In particular, cannabis is using approach record levels. We see that vaping is going down, but we see the use of nicotine vaping with cannabis is going up in a 12-month period. By contrast, binge drinking and non-medical prescription use is starting to go down. However, in younger adults, you're starting to see it creep back up. Listen to this. It says, we showed that Americans in this study from 19 to 30 who have used a substance or something in the last 30 days. It says of the 5,000 young adults that they surveyed, it said alcohol use was 65% of that 5,000. If our life is wrapped up in a bottle, I'm telling you, a lot of those people are going to be just what the government wants. Lackadaisical, lazy, do not care, inebriated, not making good judgment, and pretty much reliant on a system because they're dependent of a substance now. Listen to this. Cannabis of any form, 30%. I mean, think about this now. 19 to 30-year-olds, 5,000, 30% of the youngest generation is on marijuana, cannabis? Unbelievable to me. Vaping, nicotine, vaping, cannabis all together was around 30%. Cigarettes have went down, and some of the harder drugs they said so far have went down, other than the fact that what this study showed is along with the alcohol, this is where the key is, along with the cannabis use, what you see is a lot of those trends tend to still make it gateway, and they go to harder things. I.e., that's why it's so important to fix the border. What we're seeing is that more people are hooked on some kind of dependency in the younger generations. That they're not looking for fulfillment in marriage. Marriage numbers are down. They're not looking for fulfillment with families. Families, children, numbers down. They're not looking for fulfillment with friends. There's a new study out that shows that people feel more alone than they ever have in any point in time. This generation is considered the quote-unquote loneliest generation ever. However, we have more accessibility to people. We have more accessibility to go out. We're not in our lockdowns. This generation is pushing all that away for dependency. Guess what? Virtual activity, AI use, it's up. Drugs up, alcohol up. So what was that comment that Wef made, Yuval Harari? If you go back to his comment years ago, second in command at Wef, he said if we can keep them on substance, we can keep them fat and lazy, bad foods, and we can keep them tied up with digital video games or AI technology, we can control them. The youngest generation, 65% in the last 30 days, they said, on average, again, this is just a study, says that they've had some kind of alcohol of some sort. 30% cannabis. 30-something% any other form of vaping. Why do we want to see our younger generations fall? Now, there's a lot of problems and a lot of blame to go around. I believe social media, video games have a lot to do with that. But it also comes down to family structure. We have to find the importance of family. We have to find the importance of community. We have to find the importance of church. We have to, most of all, find the importance of God. There's a lot of great things happening in America. There really is. But we cannot be great without godliness. We cannot be great without a family structure. Remember, that was the first governed body, was the family structure with the father at the head. Once we start losing that, then we lose the generations, and that's exactly what we're seeing in this study. So yes, the missile, the direct energy thing's a big deal. Yes, the loss of funds, huge deal that Elon's bringing up. Yes, the fact of the tariff situation, America's coming on top. Great ideas. But when we lose the family, we lose the children, we lose the generations, we lose America. So my goal, let's make having families great again. Let's make our goal raising our children right again and working hard for our marriages and working hard to honor our God. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Passion at the end, because I really see a falter in how we're raising our children and how they're coming up. And guess what? One day they'll raise children, for the ones that will have kids. And how far will we be away from God? Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.